A woman's heart is the first and most sacred place a man must learn to touch, because long before her body responds, her emotions decide whether she feels safe enough to let love grow. She watches not just what you say, but how you say it, listening for gentleness, sincerity, and consistency. When you speak to her with patience rather than pressure, she feels the calm that tells her she can trust you. A woman opens her heart when she feels you are present with her, not distracted or halfway somewhere else. She longs for emotional steadiness, the kind that doesn't disappear when life becomes heavy. A man who learns to hold space for her feelings becomes someone she naturally leans toward. Touching her heart means offering comfort instead of criticism when she shares her vulnerabilities. It means understanding that emotions are not weakness, but attempts to connect more deeply. She notices every moment you choose kindness over ego, calm over conflict, understanding over reaction. In those moments, her heart recognizes a man who is emotionally safe to love. A woman's heart responds to intentional listening, the kind where she doesn't have to repeat herself just to be understood. Listening is more than hearing words. It is paying attention to what she values, fears, hopes for, and dreams about. When a man listens with interest, he touches a part of her that silently asks, "Does he really care about me?" Her heart relaxes when she realizes you are not waiting to speak, but willing to understand. Even the smallest emotional details matter to her because they tell her who you are beneath the surface. If you remember the things she says, she feels prioritized instead of tolerated. If you give her space to express herself fully, she feels respected instead of dismissed. And when you respond with empathy, she begins to trust that her emotions are safe with you. Listening is not a performance. It is a form of emotional leadership that creates deeper connection. Touching her heart begins with mastering the art of listening with sincerity and compassion. A woman needs emotional reassurance, not because she is insecure, but because connection is the foundation of how she loves. Touching her heart means speaking words that uplift rather than words that wound or belittle. She values a man who can communicate affection without embarrassment and appreciation without hesitation. When you tell her you admire her strength, she feels seen in ways she rarely admits out loud. When you acknowledge her efforts, she feels valued beyond physical attraction. Women remember gentle words longer than men realize because gentleness is rare and deeply needed. Affection does not make a man weak, it makes him wise enough to understand emotional intimacy. Her heart opens when your tone carries respect, even during difficult conversations. She listens closely to how you speak when you are angry, because that reveals your emotional discipline. A man who can remain respectful during conflict touches her heart more profoundly than any physical gesture. Touching a woman's heart requires consistency, because trust is built by patterns, not promises. She pays attention to whether your actions align with your words, especially when life becomes busy. Consistency tells her that your interest is real, not temporary or convenient. A consistent man becomes emotionally reliable, and reliability is one of the greatest forms of intimacy. When you consistently show up, she stops questioning your intentions and starts believing in your presence. Your emotional steadiness becomes a form of comfort she looks forward to every day. Consistency builds a foundation where misunderstanding decreases and understanding grows. It shows her that you are a man of character, not just charm. It proves that your emotional connection to her is not a moment, but a commitment. A woman's heart flourishes when she feels she can depend on your presence and your sincerity. Touching her heart also means protecting her peace, because a woman blooms where emotional safety exists. She watches how you handle stress, not because she expects perfection, but because your reactions affect the emotional tone around her. A calm man creates a calm environment, and emotional calmness is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. When a man chooses patience, a woman feels protected rather than pressured. When he chooses understanding, she feels cherished instead of criticized. A woman's heart softens in the presence of a man who refuses to make her feel small. She listens to the energy you bring into her life. Your presence should feel like ease, not anxiety. If you prioritize peace in your own life, you naturally become the kind of man who nourishes hers. Peace is not given, it is created through emotional maturity and mindful behavior. A woman's heart trusts a man whose presence brings stability instead of chaos. A woman's mind is the gateway to her desire because long before she feels anything physically, she evaluates who you are intellectually and emotionally. She wants to know whether your words carry depth or if they are only surface-level attempts at charm. When you stimulate her thoughts with meaningful conversation, she feels a spark that has nothing to do with appearance. A woman becomes drawn to a man who engages her curiosity rather than dulls her imagination. Touching her mind means giving her conversations that awaken her sense of possibility. It means speaking with intention, not just filling silence with noise. It is your ability to think, reason, and express yourself that makes her take you seriously. When a man offers clarity and confidence through his communication, a woman feels mentally nourished. She values someone who thinks before he reacts, speaks before he yells, and reflects before he judges. A connection built through the mind creates a foundation that the body instinctively responds to later. A woman's mind responds to inspiration because her desire is deeply connected to the energy you bring into her life. If you speak about your goals with passion, she feels the fire of your ambition and becomes intrigued. If you share your vision with direction, she senses your purpose and feels emotionally safe around your leadership. Inspiration touches the part of her that wants to grow, evolve, and become better alongside someone who pushes her upward. Women admire men who carry a sense of intention rather than drifting through life without direction. Your focus becomes a form of attraction because it reflects discipline and self-awareness. When you share your insights, lessons, and worldview, you stimulate the mental connection she desires. She is drawn to a man who teaches her something new without making her feel small. She appreciates a man who expands her thinking rather than restricting it. Touching her mind means opening doors to deeper perspectives instead of locking her into monotony. A woman seeks intellectual respect because nothing disconnects her faster than feeling dismissed or underestimated. Touching her mind means recognizing her intelligence and valuing her perspective even when you disagree. Women shut down mentally when a man talks over them, corrects them unnecessarily, or treats them as if they lack understanding. Respect is the emotional oxygen that keeps her mind open and willing to connect. She wants a man who listens to her thoughts with the same attention she offers his. A woman flourishes mentally around a man who values her ideas instead of competing with them. When you encourage her voice, she feels intellectually empowered. When you ask her opinions, she feels mentally included rather than isolated. Respect creates a mental partnership where both sides feel seen. Touching her mind begins with honoring her intelligence instead of overpowering it. A woman is mentally touched through depth because superficial conversations cannot sustain emotional attraction. She wants to talk about dreams, fears, childhood lessons, purpose, faith, and meaning, not just topics that fade after a few minutes. Depth allows her to see the layers of your character, revealing who you are when life becomes difficult. When you speak with emotional transparency, she feels the sincerity of your spirit. When you express your inner world, she begins to trust the authenticity of your intentions. Depth is not about being poetic. It is about being real, aware, and emotionally present. A woman desires a man who can articulate what he feels instead of hiding behind silence or sarcasm. She is drawn to someone who can explore life with her rather than remain stuck at the surface. Depth gives her a mental anchor, something to hold on to when the world feels uncertain. A woman's mind responds powerfully to a man who dares to communicate with honesty and substance. A woman's mind opens through emotional intelligence because intellect alone is not enough to create lasting connection. Emotional intelligence means understanding moods, managing reactions, and responding with calm awareness. A man who knows how to communicate without aggression becomes mentally comforting to her. If you can handle conflict with empathy instead of ego, she feels mentally secure. If you can express frustration without disrespect, she feels mentally protected. Women are deeply attracted to emotional maturity because it shows discipline and self-control. The way you handle challenges reveals the stability of your inner world. Your emotional intelligence becomes a kind of mental safety, something she can lean on when life overwhelms her. A woman's desire grows when she sees that your mind is stable even when circumstances aren't. Touching her mind means providing emotional clarity rather than emotional chaos. A woman's confidence is one of the most delicate and powerful parts of her identity, and many men underestimate the influence they have on it. She may not always say it out loud, but she pays attention to how a man reacts to her efforts, her appearance, her strengths, and her vulnerabilities. When you uplift her instead of highlighting her flaws, you touch a place inside her that quietly longs to feel appreciated. A woman often gives more than she receives, and she notices when someone finally sees her sacrifices. Touching her confidence means reminding her of her worth when the world tries to make her doubt. It means celebrating her growth instead of competing with it. It means valuing her voice. Instead of silencing it when she speaks her truth, her confidence rises in the presence of a man who treats her with admiration rather than dismissiveness. When she realizes she does not have to shrink herself to be loved, she flourishes. A woman feels deeply connected to a man who strengthens her sense of self rather than weakening it. A woman's confidence responds to genuine appreciation, not the surface-level compliments that fade after a moment. True appreciation comes from noticing the small things she assumes nobody sees, her resilience, her kindness, her dedication. It means acknowledging her effort even when she feels exhausted and unseen. When you verbalize appreciation with sincerity, she feels emotionally refreshed. She wants to know that her actions matter, that her presence adds value, and that her strengths are recognized. Women are often told to be strong, yet rarely told they are doing an incredible job holding everything together. Your words have the power to rebuild the parts of her confidence that life has chipped away. A man who appreciates a woman deeply touches her identity, not just her emotions. Appreciation becomes confidence when she sees it reflected consistently. Your recognition becomes a mirror that helps her remember her own worth. A woman's confidence grows when she feels emotionally supported rather than emotionally burdened. Support does not always mean solving her problems. Often, it simply means standing beside her while she solves them herself. Women thrive when they feel they have a partner who believes in their abilities rather than questioning them. Touching her confidence means reassuring her that she is capable even when she doubts herself. It means reminding her of the strength she carries within, especially when she feels overwhelmed. Support is not about taking control. It is about offering stability. It is about showing her that she does not have to carry everything alone, that she can exhale in your presence. A supportive man becomes a source of emotional nourishment. His presence gives her the courage to take on challenges with greater confidence. A woman's confidence strengthens naturally when she feels emotionally backed by the man in her life. A woman also needs encouragement, the kind that comes from someone who sees her potential, even when she cannot. Encouragement touches the part of her that silently battles self-doubt. When a man tells a woman she can achieve something, she listens more deeply than she appears to. She becomes more courageous because someone she respects believes in her abilities. Encouragement is not empty praise, it is guidance, reassurance, and inspiration combined. It shows that you are invested in her growth, not just her presence. Encouragement helps her overcome fear and take steps she hesitated to take alone. It transforms her mindset from uncertainty to possibility. Your encouragement becomes a spark that pushes her toward her highest self. A woman unfolds into her greatness when she has someone who supports her journey with genuine enthusiasm. A woman's confidence is shaped by how you handle her insecurities, because even the strongest women have them. If you dismiss or mock her insecurities, you wound her deeply in places she rarely reveals. But if you hold her gently through those insecurities, she feels emotionally safe. Touching her confidence means offering understanding instead of judgment. It means helping her feel seen rather than exposed. When a man protects a woman's vulnerabilities, she feels valued on a level she cannot fully describe. Your reassurance becomes a soft place where her fears dissolve. A man who handles her insecurities with care becomes unforgettable to her. He becomes the person she trusts in ways she never expected. Insecurity fades when tenderness is present, and tenderness elevates confidence. A woman's confidence expands when she can be herself without fear of being belittled. Authenticity flourishes where judgment is absent. When she feels free to laugh, make mistakes, express emotions, and reveal imperfections, she knows she is truly accepted. A man who welcomes her full self, her intensity, her softness, her complexity, touches her confidence profoundly. When she does not have to pretend or hide parts of herself, she becomes more expressive and alive. Authenticity gives her emotional space to grow. A woman shines brightest when she's encouraged to be real, not pressured to be perfect. She transforms in the presence of someone who embraces her entire humanity. Acceptance gives her permission to evolve. And confidence is born where acceptance lives. A woman's confidence strengthens through emotional protection because she wants to know that her relationship shields her, not exposes her. She observes how you speak about her in public, how you defend her in difficult situations, and how you stand beside her when she feels vulnerable. A protective presence builds a foundation where her confidence rises naturally. Protection is not possession, it is emotional guardianship. It means stepping in when she needs support and stepping back when she needs space. A protective man makes a woman feel cherished, not controlled. She feels secure when she knows her heart is handled with wisdom. She becomes more expressive, more trusting, and more confident. A woman glows in the presence of a man who nurtures her rather than neglects her. Confidence flourishes where protection is consistent. Physical touch becomes meaningful only when it grows from a foundation of respect, because a woman's body responds where her emotions feel safe. A woman pays attention to how you treat her long before any moment becomes intimate. She notices whether your intentions feel gentle or rushed, patient or demanding. Respect is the emotional precursor that tells her she is valued beyond physical desire. When she feels respected, her body relaxes and her guard naturally lowers. A woman cannot be touched deeply unless she feels emotionally secure. Her comfort is shaped by how you speak to her, how you listen to her, and how you honor her boundaries. Touch without respect feels invasive, but touch with respect feels like connection. Respect tells her she is not just convenient, but cherished. A woman responds physically when she senses that her heart and body are both protected. A woman needs emotional safety because her desire is deeply tied to trust, and trust cannot exist where respect is missing. When you prioritize her feelings over immediate gratification, she feels seen. When you slow down and move with awareness, she feels appreciated rather than objectified. Emotional safety is created by your ability to listen without dismissal and respond without irritation. It grows when you show her that her comfort matters more than your pride. Women do not bloom in environments filled with criticism or pressure. They blossom where they feel emotionally safe. Touching her with respect means reading her energy, not just reading your desires. It means recognizing her cues, her pauses, her hesitations. A woman feels closest to the man who protects her peace. Her body opens when her mind is free from tension and her heart is free from fear. Respect in physical connection also means honoring her timeline, not expecting her to mirror yours. A woman values a man who understands that intimacy is emotional before it is physical. She becomes more comfortable when she feels no pressure to perform or meet unrealistic expectations. Respect is shown through patience, through allowing moments to unfold naturally rather than forcing outcomes. When you let her set the pace, she feels empowered instead of overwhelmed. When you let her express her comfort levels, she feels included rather than controlled. A woman desires a man who can hold space, not someone who rushes her into vulnerability. Your patience communicates maturity, tenderness, and emotional steadiness. She values a man who understands that her readiness is not a challenge, but a process. Respect is the atmosphere that allows genuine intimacy to develop. A woman's physical response is deeply connected to emotional respect because respect nurtures her nervous system. When she feels judged, rushed, or unappreciated, her body shuts down as a natural form of self-protection. But when she feels honored, admired, and emotionally cared for, her body softens and becomes receptive. A respectful man communicates safety through his tone, his presence, and his consistency. Touching her with gentleness rather than entitlement encourages her body to trust you. Touching her with intention rather than impulse helps her feel grounded. Her physical comfort grows in the presence of emotional stability. A woman cannot connect deeply with someone whose behavior feels unpredictable or dismissive. She gives more of herself when she feels she will not be emotionally punished for it. Respect strengthens her ability to respond with warmth, comfort, and authenticity. Respect is also about emotional aftercare because what happens after a moment matters just as much as what happens during it. A woman pays attention to whether you remain affectionate once the moment ends. Consistency after intimacy tells her she is not being used but valued. If you speak to her with tenderness afterward, she feels emotionally held rather than abandoned. A woman wants to know that her vulnerability will not be taken for granted. Her emotional safety relies on whether you maintain the same level of presence, care, and sensitivity. Aftercare can be as simple as gentle conversation, reassurance, or continued closeness. It shows that the connection was genuine, not transactional. Respect creates the emotional environment where she can trust the experience. A woman thrives physically and emotionally when she knows she is cared for beyond the moment.